Dr. Cherif Bassiouni can trace his roots back to some of Egypt's richest political history.
In 1919, the major uprising in Egypt was led by my grandfather, and then he became first president of the Egyptian Senate.
A distinguished research professor of law at DePaul, Dr. Bassiouni has also worked with the United Nations as an international criminal law expert. Now, as his own homeland faces incredible political change, Professor Bassiouni believes the trouble has been a long time coming.
50% of the population live at a level of between $2 and $5 a day. The corruption, the abuse of power was so blatant, so much in your face. And the question of how long would that last was answered on January 25th.
Citing decades of ignored human rights violations in Egypt and surrounding areas, Professor Bassiouni believes that the United States has operated more as an imperial power than a force for democracy.
Perseverance that the Egyptian people have shown.
Are you speaking of democracy and human rights, or are you speaking of your imperial power? If you're speaking of your imperial power, then you can support the dictators of this world and make sure you get the oil that you want and the strategic interest that you want, but don't come and sell it to us.
And Dr. Bassiouni predicts the people's unrest will continue past Libya and engulf the Middle East.
Tunisia, Egypt, military came in, says, we got rid of the president, fine, we'll put on new faces, you need reforms, we'll give you reforms. The military are still going to control power. Libya has been under a tremendous dictatorship for the last 40 years by Gaddafi, who's by all accounts really crazy. Syria is not yet ready at all for that next stage, but the government is wise enough to realize that they need to make reforms.
Dr. Bassiouni is critical of the media for what he calls their biased reporting on exaggerated threats.
The Muslim Brotherhood, first of all, been around for 80 years. They've never taken power. They've never been able to. They represent less than 20% of the popular vote. So this bogus nonsense about, oh, well, Egypt's going to turn like Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood's going to be like the Ayatollahs, there's absolutely no basis for it.
While speculation and fear continue to spread about the future of the Middle East, Professor Bassiouni is hesitant to believe great change is coming.
I honestly think that unless something drastic happens in Egypt, which could still be the case, we could still have a major economic crisis, but if that doesn't happen, then I think things are going to normalize themselves with not much improvement for the lot of the people and not much improvement in democracy.